if he stands up and he talks about policy, he talks about issues, and talks about, like basically gives a speech he's never given before. But again, I mean, even today, he put out a Truth Social that's like, I forget what it was, attacking Joe Biden, of course, and all the January 6ers who are really just hostages. An insurrection against our Capitol that was violent, that attacked police officers, that attacked innocent people, and pretending like it never happened.
Did you know that only one former Republican congressman was invited to speak at the Democratic National Convention? Plot twist, it wasn't John McCain rising from the grave. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. It was none other than our man of the hour, Adam Kinzinger. But how did a GOP darling end up crossing enemy lines? Stick around, because this story is wilder than a Trump tweet at 3 a.m.
I'm a proud conservative, I always have been. As a proud conservative, I've always put democracy and our Constitution above all else. So while I certainly don't agree with President Biden on everything, and I never thought I'd be endorsing a Democrat for president, I know that he will always protect the very thing that makes America the best country in the world, our democracy. And it's because of my unwavering support for democracy that today, as a proud conservative, I'm endorsing Joe Biden for re-election. That this is a stark choice. This isn't just, who do I agree with more on certain issues? I actually don't even really know where Donald Trump stands on many issues.
Remember when Adam Kinzinger was the GOP's golden boy? Yeah, those were the days. He was like the perfect Republican action figure, young, handsome, and ready to follow party orders. The GOP loved him more than Trump loves his own reflection, if you can believe it. Kinzinger was the kind of guy who'd make your grandma say, "Now that's a nice young man." He had that all-American look, like he just stepped out of a Norman Rockwell painting, but with better hair. The Republicans were probably already planning where to put his statue in the Capitol. Then along came Trump, stomping into the party like a bull in a china shop. Suddenly being a good boy wasn't good enough anymore. It was like Kinzinger showed up to a food fight with a salad fork. Poor guy didn't know what hit him. As Trump's antics got wilder, Kinzinger's frown got deeper. It's like he was the only one at the GOP slumber party who actually wanted to sleep. He started asking questions like, hey, should we really be okay with all this lying? The GOP didn't like that. It's like he brought a dictionary to a rally where people were yelling, lock her up.
During a peaceful transfer of power, and then act like it's the other side that's created an environment where there is violence in our discussion. No, look, we have to be serious about this, but what we can't do, and this is what I get worried about, is that we're gonna be intimidated away from telling the American people the truth, which is Donald Trump truly is a threat to democracy. Fred Upton, a congressman from Michigan, he has what we call the Upton prophecies, where he kind of like predicts what's gonna happen in the future. And he told me on January 7th, he goes, Donald Trump's gonna run again. And I'm like, no way. I don't believe it, Fred.
Kinzinger's transformation from GOP poster boy to party pooper happened faster than Trump can tweet fake news. One minute he's the Republicans' rising star, the next he's that guy at the party who keeps reminding everyone about the noise ordinance. But here's the kicker, Kinzinger's rebellion was just getting started. It's like he went from being the teacher's pet to the class troublemaker overnight. The GOP probably wished they could send him to detention, but turns out you can't ground a congressman. As Trump's presidency went on, Kinzinger kept asking those pesky questions. Little things like, should we maybe not try to overthrow democracy? Crazy stuff like that. It's almost like he thought being in Congress was about upholding the Constitution or something. Silly Kinzinger. The more Trump pushed the boundaries of, well, everything, the more Kinzinger pushed back. It was like watching a polite Midwesterner try to reason with a tornado. Excuse me, Mr. Tornado, would you mind not destroying everything? Thanks ever so much.
I want, when I get out of here, to leave a country stronger than I came in. Donald Trump came in and basically has said, it's all about me.
I'm genuinely surprised how people close to Trump haven't talked about the odor. It's truly something to behold. Wear a mask if you can. And that's the Trump formula?
A little bit of a pungent odor, I would say, yeah. People were a little scared to talk about it, but it was obvious. Maybe it wasn't permanent or all the time, but it's there.
All right, folks, buckle up, because this political roller coaster is about to take a wild turn. Remember our buddy Kinzinger? Well, he wasn't just content with criticizing Trump from the sidelines. Oh no, he decided to go full-on rebel and do the unthinkable. He voted to impeach the Orange Man himself. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Now you'd think the GOP would have given Kinzinger a stern talking to and sent him to bed without dessert, but nope, they went full mean girls on him. Suddenly, Kinzinger was about as welcome at Republican gatherings as a vegetarian at a Texas BBQ. No more invites to the cool kids table for this troublemaker. But here's where it gets juicy. While the GOP was busy giving Kinzinger the cold shoulder, guess who came knocking? The Democrats. That's right, the party of donkeys was suddenly very interested in this elephant gone rogue. It was like watching the popular kid get kicked out of his clique, only to be invited to sit with the theater geeks. And boy, did Kinzinger take them up on that offer. Next thing you know, Kinzinger's showing up at the Democratic National Convention. I mean, can you imagine? That's like Tom Brady suiting up for the Jets. It just ain't right. The GOP was so mad, you could practically see the steam coming out of their ears. They were angrier than Trump when his favorite golden toilet gets clogged.
You know, people will tell me sometimes, like, Adam, you're courageous, and I appreciate it. I'm not courageous, though. I'm surrounded by cowards. Donald Trump is a weak man pretending to be strong. Americans that were concerned about January 6th that still voted for Donald Trump because other issues, economics, inflation, whatever, all we can do as leaders, as media, is just tell the American people the truth. And it's on the American people to seek out true information and not be manipulated, abused by a weak small man.
But Kinzinger wasn't done yet. Oh no, he decided to go all in on his new Democrat besties. He started showing up on CNN more often than breaking news alerts. He was tweeting support for Biden's policies like he was getting paid per character. The GOP couldn't believe it. Their golden boy had turned into a turncoat faster than you can say fake news. And just like that, Kinzinger went from being the GOP's poster child to their what not to do pamphlet. Meanwhile, the Democrats were treating him like he was the second coming of JFK. They were probably measuring him for a donkey costume as we speak. But here's the million-dollar question. Was it worth it? Sure, Kinzinger might have lost his seat at the Republican table, but he gained a whole new fan base. He went from being just another face in the GOP crowd to being the star of the Republicans who hate Trump show. And let's be real, in today's political climate, that's a pretty exclusive club. So our buddy Kinzinger traded his comfy GOP chair for a spot on Trump's naughty list. But hey, at least he's sleeping like a baby now. Who needs a fancy party membership card when you've found your backbone, right? Grumpy Trumpy might be fuming, but Kinzinger's showing us that sometimes the biggest patriot is the one who stands alone. It's like he swapped his MAGA hat for a superhero cape. Minus the spandex, thank goodness. Sure, he might not be invited to the Republican pizza parties anymore, but Kinzinger's got a new superpower, telling the truth. And let's face it, in Washington, that's rarer than a humble politician. So here's to Kinzinger, the guy who chose integrity over being BFFs with the orange turd. Who knew doing the right thing could be so darn rebellious?